Okay, I'm going to call the meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order, starting with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda, any additions or corrections?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the minutes from last week.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from last week.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment period. If anybody wishes to address the board, reminder, no personal attacks.
Robin Jumper, La Crescent Township. I just have a brief comment. Yesterday, my husband Ken Jumper showed up at the Fraxan Study Committee meeting with his camera, and of course, as you all know by now, there's quite a lot of draconian rules to that committee, but they would rather adjourn the meeting than to allow transparency by videotaping. And I just want to let you know that I'm pretty appalled at the lack of transparency in that committee can continue to operate in violation of the open meeting law.
Any other public comments, or we'll move on? Okay. We're running ahead of time. Sheriff Ely, do you want to move forward earlier on the
Sure,
agenda?
we certainly can do that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Scott, you want to come up? Thank you. Madam Chair and Board, Scott McConaughey, correct? Did I pronounce it right? McConaughey. He's the liaison for the State Patrol and for the state as far as Towards Zero Death. It's a program that, I let you run the program. How long has it been there?
Oh, man. Let's see, it used to be Safe and Sober. And then a few years, probably about 5 years ago, we transferred it over to the name called Towards Zero Death. Kind of a same idea, but a shift in the way of thinking.
So, I don't know how many offices are involved, I don't know how many counties, most everybody in the state has some type of group. The group that we were participating in this year, we're going to get an award here, and that was because we did some speed survey traffic enforcement.
Yeah, it was several different ways, so,
Okay.
yeah. Well, and I can just,
Yeah,
jump
wanna sit
in
down,
and
wanna talk,
explain
wanna-
here. So, first of all, thank you for your time. This is a test trip for me. I came out of Mankato, and if you'll see, there's a Prius out in the parking lot that's more kayak than car this morning. And I figured if I could make it from here to Mankato and back without tipping over in the wind, I'm going to take it out to Seattle on Friday. So dual purpose. But thank you for your time. It's a privilege to be here, and what a great opportunity to honor your sheriff's office. I was state trooper for 26 years, Fergus Falls cop before that, Canby High County Sheriff before that. So been around the block a few times, but I used to be your night trooper many years ago. And I worked out of Rochester, and when the local cars went off duty, I covered your area. And so after one or two, when the local troop went home, I was here. But they told me initially, don't leave Rochester unless you get a call. But in my mind thinking, I thought, maybe people pay taxes all over the southeast Minnesota, so I came over here. My first time I knocked on your jail door at 3:30 in the morning, and I hit the buzzer, and she goes, "Who is it?" I said, "Trooper McConaughey." She goes, "No, it isn't. No troopers work after 2. So I had to go back to my car, call her on the radio, and she let me in, but I commend her for being safe too as well. So that was my first experience with the sheriff's office. But, you know, here to talk a little bit about traffic safety. It's a tough topic to cover because so often we think of the traffic stop and of course the ticket. But there's so much more to it because we do live in a mobile society and everything we do gets in a car. And it's how we live, but unfortunately it's how we die as well. And way all too often in many cases. But when I get the opportunity as a trooper, now as my position with the liaison for the Office of Traffic Safety, I get to talk to a lot of kids. And I always ask when I go into a school setting, and I ask tough questions, and sometimes it elicits some emotions. But I say, how many know somebody that was killed in a drive-by shooting? How many know somebody who's still killed in a drug-related incident, maybe in a school shooting? And I've had hands come up, but only a few. Without exception, every time I say, how many know somebody who's personally, know somebody has died in a car crash, 1/2 to 1/3 of those hands go up. And that tells me as a servant of the state and tells me that all of us as servants of those we serve in this area, that it's very important we do all we can to keep people safe when they get in their car and drive. So that's why when we looked at, when I came on in 2011, not that I did it, but I mean that was the time, Minnesota had the lowest death rate since 1944. We were down to 368 deaths and everybody was excited about that. Unless you knew one person on that list, and everything changes. And that's why we adopted the name Towards Zero Death. We're not happy, and we're not going to stop till we hit that zero mark. And that's where the Sheriff's Office comes in, because they have joined other agencies across the state, and we try to mobilize together and push various topics forward. So we're not just making that change behavior one traffic stop at a time, but we're trying to change everybody's way of thinking. So we'll have enforcement waves that deal with DWI, seatbelt, speed, move over, which is a pretty important deal around here because Ted Foss was one of my partners years ago prior to his death on the interstate. So we have a lot of those initiatives going forward. And to me, when I took over this job, I go back to that experience when I knocked on the door and all the fun I had here. By the way, I love Houston and Fillmore County. I hope it stays the way. It's kind of the hidden jewel of Minnesota as far as I'm concerned. So I enjoy every time I come down. But in these enforcement ways, it's been exciting for me to see what's happened in Houston County and the work and the efforts they're doing in traffic safety. And so, here's where the fun part for me is. I get to pick 4 agencies, 4 times a year, 2 agencies to highlight and say what an outstanding job they did. And so for those efforts in DWI, speed, seatbelt, and aggressive and inattentive driving, they were selected for that award. Now, I could have brought a monument or a plaque, but they gave me some money from federal funds, and I thought it much better to put it in usable equipment. So they're getting a piece of radar, and I got to be real careful because I did this down in Montevideo. I didn't tell my in-laws where they're from, and I should have, because it turned out it was in the paper. I got in trouble for not telling them I was there, and then my dad-in-law got stopped, so I will never hear the end of that story. But this is a tool that's going to keep your people safe, and it carries a price tag about $3,000 to $4,000 that we can just give to you that you can put back into service to keep people here safe. So, having said that, I want to thank Sheriff Ely for his part, for you and the support of their efforts. And there's one final thing I always say. Your cops are not mean. When they make that traffic stop and they give a ticket, they're not mean. And I understand it can cost starting around $100, $125 and what is that, a pair of jeans? But if that can save a life, I knew a young lady from Wells who took off her seatbelt 10 minutes before she crashed, and now she's paralyzed for life. And I'm sure she would have gladly paid a ticket every day of her life not to be where she was at. So they just know if they don't do their job, they don't make that stop and write the ticket when it's necessary, they know the consequences. So I talked enough, and I appreciate your time. And just to show you, there's a lot of pieces. It's a big box. But it comes down just to a few of these components that kind of give you a visual of what we have here. So this is the rig readout, and this is the antenna, And I just want to say thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
For all your efforts.
Thank you very much.
So,
It's probably the nicest radar unit that we have. There'll be 2 antennas, there's one in the front, one in the back. You can run stationary, you can run facing traffic, you can run traffic coming from behind you. So when someone goes, you can't catch me, I'm coming from behind. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, we can. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get caught now, but I would just like to thank Scott for all he does. Scott's the one that makes sure that when we applied for our grant, was really pushing us along with public health, and we thank them for their support also. But we certainly thank you for this radar unit. It's a really nice unit.
I should mention, I don't know, always get them there, safe roads people, would you stand up just a second? And our director, and she, the nice thing is it's not just enforcement, it's everybody working together, civilians and sworn officers. And that's what's kind of neat to have them here, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And public health.
And public health.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you
you.
very much. Very nice. Since we're running a little ahead of the schedule, why don't we go ahead with approving the claims, human service license center disbursements? Discuss.
Sure. Actually, we should do the consent agenda first.
There's nothing on it.
We gotta get it over with.
It's a good one.
I brought that up right away because I figured it would be approved.
We need a motion on that, as long as there's nothing there.
No.
Okay, let's go ahead. Just look at them.
Just gotta sign off.
Move to approve claims, human services, and license center disbursements.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 2, approve Caledonia Rod and Gun Club family permit for a benefit to be held on Back 40. I think we all got that yesterday on the
Yep.
agenda item.
I move to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Well, let's go through unfinished business then. Recs and issue updates?
I got nothing.
Justin? Okay. Highway building repair costs. Any further meetings lined
Nothing,
up?
no, nothing new.
Okay.
Hay is about coming down.
Thank you, bye.
On the highway repair thing, obviously we had HSR in the other day talking about it, and this week I was thinking, I would like to see, I think it would be very necessary to have like a public hearing, hear from what the people have to say in the community too, before we get too further. We've got, obviously we've got one plan that's going through. We've talked, I think the whole board's talked about possibly a second plan, whatever. But I think it would be very prudent right now to have a public hearing, just get some input from the public, and at least hear what some of them have to say as far as maybe they want bigger, maybe they want something else, I don't know. But I would like to see a public hearing held just to get some impact, some input from the people before we get too deep into this as far as plans go. Let's let the people get their comments on where they want their money spent. But I think that would be very, very beneficial, at
I
least
could
now.
see having a public hearing, but I think we need options to show the public.
You want facts. I think you want
Facts
numbers.
before we can.
Numbers.
Very, very true. I think it'd be nice to hear if the public starts screaming out, no, we don't, and we spent 30,000 on certain plans. We do have one plan. It'd be nice to see, are we on the right track? We don't know. Maybe they want less, maybe they want more. I don't
The
know.
public can contact us anyway about it.
That's
I
fine.
don't think we need to have an official hearing posted and published. And I mean, don't you get calls? I mean, I get calls.
I get a few, and what happens is you get a call and they say, what's going on with the highway department? We don't want it to be a huge monstrosity building and this and that. Okay, sounds good.
That's what I used
So
to.
then I bring it up, but then you guys still haven't heard a lot of those comments. It's all third hand. You can hear one at a time. You know, it'd be worth it. I know what happened. I know what happened with other buildings that were purchased or built or whatever. It's always after the fact. People come in and get mad. Well, this is the only option we have, and now we have this option, and okay, this is what we're going to do. We want a public hearing on it. Well, let's back the train up. Maybe we should have heard from them prior to getting that one option that we are going to approve. It would be just nice to involve the people and let them have some say in where their dollars are being spent versus you get 3 people basically on a board that can push an issue. I've always had an issue that it only takes 3. It only takes 3 to push an issue, and we haven't heard from anybody. How do you guys want your money spent? So it'd be nice to hear from somebody before we end up spending a lot of money on plans that maybe the people don't want. I don't know. I'm just saying it'd be a little bit more proactive to hear from the people before spending money on plans than after the fact. You spend $30,000 on plans, well, it's already spent. People say we don't want that. Okay, you spend another $30,000 to make new plans? You know, it'd be nice to have a pre-hearing versus a post after we've gotten it done. I'm just saying it'd be a little bit better of a.
I was hoping the
decision.
committee would get together facts of different options and then bring it up to the public, and like you said, maybe a public hearing or part of an agenda item to discuss or something, but you have to have a
Well,
reason
it's
to have a
hard
public
though.
hearing.
It's hard because when we, and we won't, I don't, Bob's being very patient, but since we're talking about the highway department building, I apologize, Bob, hang on a second. The issue is, every time we've had a committee meeting, and I've brought it up, and Steve's been there too, I've brought it up, we need to go small, we need to go small. Brian hasn't budged from this plan. When we first came in and we had the presentation back in April, I know the board said, let's bring up some other alternatives, which you all know I'm for. That hasn't happened. Again, we have HSR come in on the one plan. I mean, it's not being, a second option hasn't been very successful being brought up. So either we have a direction from the board that we're going to do a second option, or we hear from the public and see maybe that option's good and maybe they want it.
I beg to disagree
Sure.
because they showed all the areas that they weren't going to do. That was a change in a plan. That means that they are changing, that they're not staying with the original plan.
Correct, but that's what it always has been since 4 years ago. That change was implemented. So that change has been the last 4 years. What I'm saying is it's not a very big change. You know, we're changing some rooms and stuff, but it's still being pushed for the same size other than a few of the small offices that aren't going to be there anymore. What I'm saying is we're doing small changes. I'm saying big changes. We haven't talked about it. Do we have any price quotes on a building half the size made out of something else? No, we don't. You've changed some things, and it's the same thing as saying, well, in our house, instead of 4 bedrooms, we're just going to go to 3. Okay, that's a change in plan, but I'm saying maybe you go to a ranch style instead of a 4-story building. I don't know. We haven't seen
Well,
another
work with it on
option.
your committee. That's what
That's
committees are
great,
about.
Judy. I've pushed it. I know Steve's
What
been there
about-
when I pushed it, and it hasn't
I
happened.
think, well, HSR is coming back again, and they're talking of bringing Weezer
Yep.
Construction in, so we
Yep.
have some idea of what what we can get for a certain amount of money, or what will $1 million get us as far as the structure. So it's in the offing.
And that's what I'm saying, a public hearing would be nice for the fact that you can have the public say, hey, we would like to allocate only $2 million to this project, or $400,000, or $6 million, I don't know. But let's hear from the people where they want, so that when we do have Weezers or HSR come in, we can say, okay, this is what we've gone to the public, this is what we feel is a good budget for this project, now let's make some plans. And we've all heard from HSR the other day when I asked the question, do you usually have companies come in and just hand you a blank check and say, make it something? They said, no, usually have a budget. So we need to have some sort of a budget. What are we planning to allocate for this project so we can make some plans to fit within those parameters? But what are they? I don't know. It would be nice to hear from the public so that at least we don't have to go through the same thing that we've been hearing for the last how many years on the jail, that it's too big, it was too big. Great, well, if we would have had more public hearings, we might have heard those outcries prior to it being built. I don't want to go down the same road twice. That's my issue. Let's do it right. Let's get the people and let's start the process of getting this done versus taking consideration of a few that want this and then going to the public and say, nope, we don't want that all the stuff that's being built. I'd like to hear from the public before instead of after.
In my opinion, it's too early to just open something up to the public.
Is it
If you
too
have
early?
no
Is it ever
info-
too early?
Yes, it is.
It's too early.
I
It's
think
always
we
too
You
need
early.
have a
more
certain
options.
job as a representative of your constituents, and part of that would be to bring forward some facts and figures. You can't ask a whole room to come in here with no facts and figures and give input. If we don't
We
have
need
facts and
facts.
figures, you cannot open up something to just anything.
Well, you hit the nail right on the head, being a representative from your district. That's what I would like, is to hear from the districts, to be a representative. Right now, we're pushing things without facts or figures. Let's hear from them. Let's be the representative that we are to be, and let's hear from them and say, we're going to be your representative. What would you like to see? That's where I'm at. You're right. Well, you should be a representative. Then we need to hear from them, and that's where I want to be, is let's hear from the people so we can represent them.
I've been doing that by going to the different township meetings and talking to them and getting input, rather than having an official public hearing without facts yet.
Yep.
But I think if we can come up with some more facts and options,
See, our public, I don't think is going to be aware of what is actually needed
Right, I think we have
as far
to
as,
show them
you
what's
know,
needed.
space.
and-
They have no idea what costs or
Right,
what amount to,
that's
you know,
our
what-
job, is to present it.
Yeah.
The big issue
Or
is,
Meeting code requirements, OSHA requirements.
Mhm.
You know, it's that sort of thing that you've got to have available to present.
And I think the big issue, and it's a very complex deal, but you're right. However, we also can't just say, here's a blank check, just
No.
whatever you need. We gotta have something budgeted and say, we
I
have to
don't
work
think
within
any-
this.
Nobody
Yeah.
at this counter, I don't think, is saying, here's your blank check.
Make
No.
something.
Well, then let's put down let's have a budget, let's have a cap, and let's do that.
Why don't you guys on your committee do some fact finding and come back to us with some facts? What does OSHA say? What our needs are? What our costs?
Well, that's where contractors are going to need to come in.
Right.
Architectures and engineers are going to have to be able to, you know, tell us, okay, you have to be this way.
Mhm.
Well, you need,
But they can't tell us how much money to spend. We
No,
have to
they
go
can
to them and
tell
say,
you
we
what
have
it'll
this amount of money.
Yeah.
What can we do with this to still meet requirements and codes, but be able to fit within this amount of money? We don't go to them and say, you have codes. They're gonna say, yeah, but what's your building look like? You know, we can't tell you what codes until you know what
That's your
building.
job as a committee, though, is to sit down and figure out what the needs are.
But it's our job as commissioners to put together how much money do we feel comfortable allocating before we can get any plans on the table. You don't go to somebody and say, build me a house, and they say, cool, here's a $5 million mansion. Yeah, I can't afford that one.
Well,
Build us another one. I mean,
maybe-
you gotta have some sort of a budget
But
that we're
maybe
looking
if
at.
you can't do that as a committee, maybe you should step back and someone else should come on the committee who can go and find those facts and bring them forward so people would have that chance to respond to it.
And that would be great. The problem is, I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do that. And I know Steve's probably looking at that exact same issue. But it's not getting done because we're only getting pushed in one direction. And I've come to Brian numerous times, and Brian said, this is what we have to have. I can't budge. We have to have this. Well, he's not willing to budge. So how does that ever get done? I mean, the board is the end all sale. If he's not willing to budge and you don't want to spend $4 to $5 million, at that point, the board has to say, hey, we're not spending that, we have to scale this back. But I haven't got any direction from the board, and as of right now, we're at a stalemate.
I don't think we can
Steve,
set
do you
up
feel
Yeah.
like you're at a
budget.
stalemate at your committee?
it's just, we're moving slow. We're moving too slowly, I think, you know? I'll meet with Brian, and let's see what do we actually need.
You know, like I said, previous times,
Mhm.
our proposed building, if you look at the main office space, the rooms are the same size what we currently have. You know, when you get to mention cutting stuff in half, you're not going to cut a current office space in half. There's some sizes of the rooms that are going to increase in size for ADA requirements, such as bathrooms. There's some realities that, you know, as great as it is to cut down in size, there's some restrictions that we have where we can't cut down certain areas. You know, I know that when HSR was here, you talked about, you know, doubling up on the maintenance bay with equipment storage and stuff. You know, we have equipment in other shops that come over here to be maintained. So if you're going to eliminate a large vehicle bay because when that vehicle is not being maintained, it's not in that bay. You still have the other shops with that equipment coming over getting repaired. So there's some, you know, I understand that cost is a huge factor. I mean, if we don't have money, we can't build it. At the same time, it doesn't make sense to build a building that's not going to work. So, you know, Justin, Steve, and I need to sit down. We need to look at all aspects, you know, both on the sizing and the cost, and figure out what the best way to go. For $1 million, and each started when we were at the meeting, you know, for $1 million, we might as well not build anything. Because the reality is that we're not going to get something that's going to function for the county and meet our needs. So, you know.
I think we need to send it back to committee at this time. And I would gather public, we can have it in the papers that we are taking in public input and make note of it, and we can bring it up.
Yeah.
We'll give it to the
That sounds
committee.
good.
Any input that we get. I mean, at this point, I think.
Yeah. I guess I don't want to miss an opportunity either. Right now, bonding rates are extremely low, record lows, 2 3/4 to 3%. 3 years from now, that could double.
Well, and if
You
you
know,
look
we're-
at the original plans that came up and the cost that they had on those, our cut-back plans right now are going to cost what it would have cost back then to build that
Yep.
building.
If we wait and try to build as you go, inflation is just going to eat up any savings that we would have gotten.
Yeah.
So go in debt more and not pay cash is what I'm hearing.
No, not really. We don't have enough
We don't
facts
have
to
a
make a
choice.
decision.
Yeah. Basically, we don't have a choice.
I don't think
You can't
anybody-
build anything for $1 million.
I would severely beg to differ.
Well, you could
Well,
build
no,
something.
okay,
You could
sure.
throw away $1 million.
If you want to, I can go out and I'll make plans, but what I don't want to have happen is get overrun and say, okay, you came up with these plans, but we're not even going to pay attention because we want to go in this direction. I mean, you got to be open-minded to other plans.
Justin,
I'm
I don't
open.
see how we can do plans for $1 million.
Okay.
And I honestly think that you need to be a team player on this and work with everyone.
I'm trying to be, Judy, and I'm trying to work with the taxpayers whose money you're trying to spend. That's being a team player, not just looking at one aspect and saying, spend this. I know Scott wants a $190,000 radio piece, but we got to be able to fund that too. So being a team player looks at all aspects, not just one aspect. So we got to be a team player. Remember, it's not just the people here. We have 19,000 people. That's hard-earned money is being spent. We got to look at that too. So let's be a team player, but let's broaden the team player instead of just one department, just one issue. We have to be able to be good managers and manage it all the way around. We can't put all of our eggs in one basket. And that's where this direction is going. We're talking about a multi-million-dollar building that was being proposed. You might be able to cut back here and there, but it's still going to be a huge building. You saw the numbers. 4 million, it's closer to 6 million now. So if that be the case, it's going to take some severe cutbacks because that's putting a lot of eggs in that basket that now we're going to have to cut in other areas. I hate to see other departments suffer because we have to go here. Or the taxpayers who's getting roughly about a 3 to 4% raise every year now get an 8% raise.
Maybe we need to ask the taxpayers if, do you want us to throw away $1 million on something that's not going to be efficient and not work?
But see, that's keeping an open mind. You're already saying throwing away something, you don't know what $1 million can get you. So that's being
Then,
open-minded.
let's get the facts on it. Let's
Yeah.
send it back
Yeah,
to
let's move
committee,
on.
get some more options,
Yeah.
write down what you can do for
Yeah. Let's just move on.
that,
It's
and let's
just a-
move on. Okay, Bob.
All right, I'm just going to give a report on the public hearings held back on June 26th with the Board of Adjustment and the Planning Commission. The Board of Adjustment reviewed an application by Tim Crane for a variance, 42 feet, to rebuild a storage building that burned down last winter, and the board went ahead and agreed to issue that variance. Planning Commission had 2 applications that they heard later in the evening. Arlen and Sue Peterson, Sheldon Township, to build a house on less than 40 acres. Met the requirements of a non-farm dwelling, and that it was at least an acre. Existing building site had adequate road frontage, met setbacks, so they recommended approval of that one. And the second and last one, there was Verizon Wireless on behalf of Paul Solom, Spring Grove Township, to construct a telecommunication tower in an ag district, now it's just north of the city of Spring Grove. So, 2 recommendations there. Both of them had conditions put on that they follow all federal, state, and local permits. They can be obtained and followed, just like any other application. So, 2 today that you would act on would be the Arlen and Sue Peterson non-farm dwelling and the Verizon Wireless telecommunication tower.
You want us to vote on them together or separately?
Either way. Both have the same conditions, so whichever.
It was on the committee with this, when this came up, and it looks good to me. I'll make a motion to approve both of them.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I will abstain because of one of the people on there is close to me. So.
And then there's several zoning permits. Any questions on those? Motion on the zoning permits too.
We need a
All see
motion.
them? I'll make a motion to approve the zoning permits.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Thought I saw Tess here a minute ago, but
She's on the wall. Yes.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning. We have a short agenda this morning and very pleasant items to be reporting. First up, these are all staffing issues, change of status from probationary status of our employees to that of regular status. And the first one is in the Highway Department. We're recommending the change of employment status of Justin Conway as the engineering supervisor from probationary to regular, effective on his anniversary date of that appointment 6 months ago, and that would be July 15th. Pardon? A year ago. I was just realizing that I misspoke a year ago. So he had been an employee in the department prior. He went through a competitive process for this appointment. He has been successful in the position, and the supervisor has submitted the appropriate performance evaluation on his behalf. And is there anything you'd like to say on behalf of Justin?
Yeah.
Department?
Justin's been a wonderful addition, well, I shouldn't really say necessarily in addition to the department, but he's done a wonderful job filling his new role within the department as engineering supervisor. He routinely is working with contractors, working with consultants, working with landowners from the county, and then helping to manage the staff as well. So done a great job. He's learned a lot his first year in the role, and he's a great young guy. And
so he's not ready to retire or anything.
No. And, highly recommend removing the probationary status and making him a full-time probationary employee.
I'll make a motion to move Justin Conway from probationary to regular employee,
Effective July 15th.
effective July 15th.
Further discussion? Or do I need a second first?
Second.
Okay.
Mhm.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Send this formal letter. Thank you very much. And Linda? So actually, all 3 of these positions are supervisor positions that we're talking about here. And in Human Services, Tim Hunter, it's hard to believe it's been a year for both these folks. Tim Hunter has been with us for a year. As you may recall, he came to us from Wabasha County as a social worker there. His position is that of, here is that of social services supervisor. And of course, we're recommending the change of his employment status from probationary to regular effective July 23rd of this year. And would you like to comment on behalf of your department?
Yeah, Tim's great. He is just a natural at what he does. He's been so good, tactful, assertive. He's just a great employee. He works really hard. He looks and sees what needs to be done. He plans accordingly. He sees future goals. He's just great. So I very much highly recommend him. He's done a wonderful job.
I think he's been a good mentor.
I think he's brought in some pretty good, new ideas, new things, like the meet and greet that he held early on. I thought was great, wonderful. I think everybody really appreciated that.
So let's without reservation, we recommend the change of status for him from temporary to regular effective July 23rd.
I move to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
And last but not least, for public health. So we're recommending the change of status for Marcia Bauer, who is the home care coordinator, effective August 5th. And Marcia was with us as a public health nurse prior to taking on that role a year ago. Would you like to speak on behalf of your department?
We just finished her review, her performance appraisal. Marcia's a really top-notch supervisor for the home care. Coming up through the ranks sometimes can be difficult, and she's navigated those challenges really well. We just completed 3 audits, a youth care, Blue Plus, and then our Minnesota Department of Health unannounced survey, and she navigated all those really well. I think that she's very well respected by the folks that she supervises. She's great in dealing with the public and our constituency for home care services. She's been a tremendous help to me in my new position as well, very supportive. And I don't know what we'll do without her, actually.
So we're recommending the change of employment status for Marcia Bauer, home care coordinator, effective August 5th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. And just FYI, I had some updates on the old jail. I understand that Jerry Conway is, he's been out of the office for a little bit, but he's back in the office and kind of bulldogging the process and pushing.
I appreciate you keeping us informed too. That's great.
So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm thinking by the end of this month that we'll have him, I haven't heard a date back from him yet, that he can come and present what it is that MCIT is proposing as far as payment for some of the reconstruction, so that you can make a determination as to whether you want to do rehab the facility or raise it.
We're anxiously waiting.
Yes, and like I said, I have been in contact with one of the controls, because we do have those 2 heat units. Should we determine that we will keep it, we will be able to maintain standalone heat for that facility. That won't run underground from this building.
Tess, if someone wants to tour the building, do they contact you or Mark?
They can contact our office.
Okay.
And I can arrange for it. I mean, sometimes if I'm not available, I'll call on Mark, but.
It was just one of the discussions we had at EDA.
They just give us a caller, and we have new keys for the building and everything. And either myself or one of the maintenance staff will do a walkthrough with them. Because there are some hazards in there, we prefer to have them escorted by a county employee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So then you could play realtor and maybe sell it.
That was one of my past lives a long, long time ago.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And I suppose we do have to wait till 10 o'clock to open the bids, right?
Start with finance.
Let's start with finance. Boy, Donna just left too, didn't she? But Carol, you can start us with finance, and Heidi.
I guess I had just moved up to something else in here, so I'll find it again. But, since it was the end of the quarter, I sent out the line-by-line budgets from each of the departments and, asked if there's any one specifically you wanted to see. We could have them here, but really it is the first 6 months and we have the issue of people paying for things. Now, the third quarter would probably be more a sign when people are more paying for the things at the end of the year where we get a better idea if we're really going to have a problem. So we'll have to look at the third quarter, probably closer than actually what we have here today in these reports. I did receive a message from Chuck, the extension, I guess, is he the...
Yes, he's a regional director.
Regional director,
yes.
That we will be seeing a savings this year because there is someone out on leave, they have not had a replacement, and they just now are filling in halftime.
Right.
Which is not halftime for us. That halftime person will be split like the other person's time was. So we will see some savings there. It might be something to look at if extension needs something that we could take that and apply it to something that they're thinking they need. Donna will go through more of the cash balances, but you can see that the departments are all actually up now that they have their tax settlement, even, from what the beginning balance of the year was. So it's looking okay, good since it's
146 pages of it, though.
There is
You're
146
good after that.
pages. We have a lot that goes, a lot of departments, a lot that goes on.
And that's good.
I really appreciated getting the whole thing too, and I read all of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a bad read. Teresa and I were discussing the percentages, and the percentages on the totals just sometimes don't make any sense. But if you look at it, the numbers and the way it calculates, yes, that is the percentage that it is, but it doesn't necessarily reflect, because we budgeted a $3,000 overage, and we're now at $680,000 overage because we've gotten money in that hasn't been spent yet. So it does calculate out to the percentage, but it doesn't really provide an accurate picture of what it is. So we were talking about maybe taking the percentages off the totals, just leaving it on the line item things.
It makes more sense to
A
me
little
on the
more
line
sense.
item.
Mm-hmm. Were there any items that you had questions on?
Just that we already got answers to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Donna's going to provide you with a cash and investment summary. She's got pictures.
Yeah. Well, I just discovered to be honest with you, I was looking and I was looking at the nice percentages on the bottom. I just did this little pie chart out just to show how much percentage we have in the different funds. Overload with paperwork. Better to get too much than not enough, right? Yeah.
That's right. Need something to read at night. Sweet better. Dana always liked the pie charts too.
Yes, I do.
Sure. Okay. First of all, the big large sheet here is the total breakdown of all the code investments, the percentages and the rates, I should say. when they're due, the certificate numbers and all. So as you can see, the total end of day cash on 6/30 was $12,295,483. And the sheet here, this one that I have here, I kind of started that last year, and I just kind of put the cash book balance beginning of 2008. So you can see as the cash, the little graph there, the cash is kind of, it was really high in 2011, but then as the years went by here, we've got, we had the highway department pay back their flood funds. And then, of course, with the bond payoffs and stuff like that, we're kind of coming up again now, but it's gradually, going up. Hopefully we will. And then this sheet with this thing on here. This is all the fund investments that I've got, totally separate from the pooled investments. So the fund investments are broken down. We've got the Golden Bridge, Human Services. We've got the general fund investments with the recorders, technology, the compliance fund, E911. And the next group is soil and water, and then we've got the collaborative. So these are all my fund investments that are totally separate from my pooled investments. And these fund investments are what the auditors always say I should, pool them all together with my other investments, but so far I've got them separate. And it's okay. It's not a big deal. We don't have any trouble balancing them, and trial balance comes out each month. So far, so good. So
yeah. So if you look at her 12,295,000 or 12,295,000, and you look at page 146, our financial system treasurer's cash trial balance, they match.
That's good.
That's what we have to do every month as a requirement by the auditors. So
that's what they like to see.
Smiles when that happens.
And then the sheet here, this one is, I just broke it down, so you can kind of see how much we have in money market, which is really good because you want that so you can have liquid cash. Certificates of deposit, they're broken down like by ITSN, merchants, and multi-bank. And then the bonds we have with Raymond James and Wells Fargo. So,
and Raymond James used to be.
Oh, Raymond James used to be. Yeah, whatever. Been Raymond James for about 3 years. So anyway, they it's the same. Yeah, it's the same. We've been with the same brokers since I started. So haven't changed any, and I don't really intend to change any brokers because it's nice to stick with the same ones. You don't want too many brokers either. So everything's going fine. I'm trying to, of course, get as much interest as I can, and it's very difficult. Every once in a while, there'll be a CD come up that's pretty good rate, and I try to jump on it if I can. If I got something coming due, and I see it, if it's coming due soon, I'll just, cash in, and then I'll jump on that rate that I can get, and then if it's due in 2-3 weeks, I'll just go ahead and put that in general fund. So,
for the most part, you invest within county, though?
There are
quite a bit of it.
Yeah, we have to. We can't invest out of the county.
Out of the state.
Yeah, out of this. But the thing is, we with our brokers, they have certificates that are with different banks. Like
so they're like multi-bank ones.
Yeah,
they're like participation.
Yeah, as you can see here, we've got like multi-bank. Oh, I don't have the names of the banks. Unfortunately, I should have had that on there. But we have different banks that maybe Texas, Utah, but that's through the broker. And so I cannot go into Iowa and invest anything in Iowa. As far as like I can't, take a CD and go out to Iowa and invest it myself. It has to be done through a broker, and they're the ones that are doing the investing. And they have each year I give them the investment policy so they know what the policy is. So basically, I have to stick with, when I invest myself with the banks, it has to be ITSN, merchants, or Bank of West. And of course, we do have the one with Western.
Within the state, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you recently buy a CD from First Southeast Harmony?
Yeah, First Southeast Harmony?
Yeah.
Yep, now that is the CD that we just it came out yesterday through a broker. And so what I did was, because it's through the broker, and it was a really good rate compared to what I could get. I know, did you get a call from the banker?
Yes, I did. Did you?
Okay. No, we had a certificate that came due yesterday for $200,000. And the rate was 1.3. And actually, it's right on here because it was as of June 30th. It's at the top of the sheet, this large sheet here. It was the 200,000 for 1.3. It's number 2108, I think it is. Yeah, 2108. Okay, so that certificate comes due. So the brokers every day, they send me notices of what's available for purchases. And I popped a certificate. They said, usually with Raymond James, I don't normally purchase certificates because I like to keep them separate so I can keep track of, make sure I have the FDIC insured. And so if you go, so for the most part, multi-bank knows everything I've got. So if they have a CD that I have to purchase, they'll know right away if I've got too much invested in one bank with the ID number. So this popped up to be available for purchase, and it was $200,000. And it was First Southeast Bank Harmony. And I know Southeast Bank Harmony is a good bank and a safe bank. And of course, when it's through the broker, I said, yes, I will, I checked Eitzen, I checked Merchants. Merchants was going to give me 0.85%. So that's $1,300 for the year versus $4,400 with this other bank. And which one do you guys want me to choose? In reality, I got a call then from the banker, from Merchant. I went over, first I called him, got the rate that he would give me. I went over there and cashed it in. And then, he called and asked me why I would want to take my money out of the county. Well, for the most part, we've always invested, sure, I like to invest in the county as much as I can, and I have actually invested in Merchants, which we probably never had any certificates there, but I wanted to give them a chance, so I tried to do the best I can to put money over there versus, and also at the Eitzen Bank. I've got as much as I can at Eitzen Bank. They can't collateralize anymore because I've got so much over there, so I have to be really limited on how much I can invest, and I have to make sure to tell them each time I put a large amount in there. So for that reason, I told the banker in Caledonia here, I said, I'm working for the county to get as much interest as I possibly can. So, and I understand where he wants me to keep the money there, but for that difference, I just can't. And his comment was, well, do we have to compete nationally also? Well, no, I'm going to my broker, and so that's what I told him.
It's a broker deposit.
Right.
In other words, yeah.
Right. So that's what I did, and he was kind of sore about it, but I'm doing the best I can for the county, and that's my story. Basically, that's the bottom line. You've got to do the best you can. You want to get, we can't, I know at one time there was that magic fund where you just put all your money into that fund, and it was like, now it's like probably 23%, and a couple counties were doing that. I don't know if they're still doing that now. I don't think so. It'd be crazy if they did. But, you just want to try to, shop around and see what you can get. If something good,
honest.
it has to be good
Yeah.
before I purchase it. So, that's how that went.
That's good. That's what you need to do. Because
Yeah.
in a small county, we need to get the best interest we
The
can.
best we can. Yep. And I certainly wouldn't. I'm not trying to downsize Merchants Bank, but we all know too, Bank of the West. Because they're such a huge bank, they just know they can't compete, and because they can't pay that much interest to the county. So their rates right now, you can see my money markets. They're about 0.1, if you look at 0.01, 0.10.
But with
They're just
Bank of the
barely
West,
paying at all.
Keeping our money there, we also eliminate fees. that we
Right,
have to pay.
right.
So,
So that's the advantage there. We have to have so much money in the Bank of the West, otherwise they will not let us keep putting our money, our general fund in there. Because we have, like during tax time, we might have, like,
Oh, for clearing funds,
Yeah.
being able to clear checks and.
yeah, like 13, 14 million in the one account and the main account. And so they want us to have a certain amount of money in there so that they can eliminate, like Carol said, all the fees that we have for all the checks that are going through, which is understandable.
the typical fees that are charged to businesses, we don't pay because we keep a certain amount of money there.
Yeah. And like if that's, it may be even Anna's checks that come through, we have, just for the per check charge fee, like most businesses pay, at least $10 to $15 a month, just small businesses would pay that much. And so you can imagine what ours would be if we had to pay for every check that went through the bank. So that's one of the reasons why we have to keep a large amount in there. So, like I'm trying to get, we transfer out of the 2306, which is Bank of the West is Dawn Money Market Savings, it's 965002306. That money, that account holds a lot of the money that I transfer from each week to cover all the expenses. And then when that gets low, I have to replenish that so I can have money. It's good to have it there because I transfer everything online. So I try to build that up and keep as much as I can in there without, suffering for the interest income revenue that we're getting. So.
Donna, you got NA on some of them, that mean not applicable or not available on some of the maturing rates and the investment rates?
What was your question now?
On your money markets, date invested and date matures N/A. Does that mean that's a fluid account? Is that one of your fluid accounts?
Yeah, that matures,
Where you can take it out?
It's just in there, yeah.
You can take it out?
Yeah. Yeah, anytime you can take it out.
I see that on the other sheets too.
Yeah, there's no maturity.
It's just
to any
more
of them.
fluid for you. Okay, that's one about that, thanks.
Yeah. And then you'll see the fund investments, there's a lot of those too, you've got for your, the collaborative and the soil and water, a lot of those are just money markets also, and they can take out whenever they want to, so. It's just your certificates that are, the maturity date on.
So when do you get the interest on this? You get that interest yearly or daily or?
Usually it's monthly on money markets.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Monthly. And the certificate I just bought yesterday, that went to Southeast Bank, that is also monthly, and monthly is better than.
It's a compounding effect.
That's.
Yeah.
So, on all my certificates, for the most part, I just pay them annually.
and we do also have some department heads here, and I just wanted to let you know if you wanted to address the board at all. If I don't want to, you want to say, let me.
So I thought it was a good report. I like this, the 6-month report in detail like this. And Dottie, you're doing a good job, Carol.
Just a clarification, I had some people confusing this with the beginning of the 2015 budgeting, but those worksheets will go out next week for the employer, for the department heads to fill out and return. Now, next month, there isn't a board meeting on the second Tuesday because of the election, so we'll have the finance committee on the third, finance review on the third Tuesday, and maybe on the first Tuesday, talk about some times when we'd like to meet to go through the budgets with the department heads.
To start budget processing.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you. Being that it's 10 o'clock, we now will open our county auction bids for 2014.
My first one is on Zenke auction.
Oh, well, it's supposed to be
Sankey auction for 6.79% commission.
6.79?
Yep. Next one is George Johnston. Okay, he's done this before where it's a little questionable what he means. I think he means 10%. It almost appears it's the same thing, 10%.
Oh.
But
10%?
Yeah, I think he means 10%.
Well, if we could hold them to the point.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm quite certain he means 10. I think he's done that before where he made a
Decimal point in the percentage.
Lee Badler, 6%.
Where's this person out of?
He is from Caledonia, 226 East Main Street, Caledonia. So he'd be the low yet, at 6%.
You want to see anything? See him?
I kept myself completely out of it, so, you know, as much as possible.
Or you have medical leave anyway?
Yeah, right. I still have to work.
So I guess I would recommend accepting the low quote of Lee Badler.
Okay, move to approve?
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Sharp, who was one? I couldn't hear you. Who won?
Lee Badler from Caledonia.
Okay.
Yeah. LC, he works up there. He works there pretty regularly, I think. Plus he's I think he works with his dad.
Commissioner reports. Dana?
I had the EDA meeting last Wednesday. We had a regular meeting, then we went over toward the jail and had local historians there giving some anecdotes about, you know, it is very interesting. That's all I had last week.
Dustin?
Frac Sand committee meeting, but I'll let you kind of touch base on that a little more when it gets down to you, but otherwise that's fine.
Steve?
Me, I just had the township meeting last night that I attended along with you. It's County Township Officers meeting.
I had EDA also, and we also, well, Janine Hush is the one who's been working on the historical jail information, and she gave us each a copy. So we should copy this maybe and get it to everyone so that they can have the information.
Put it on our emails.
Or email it to everyone.
History of Houston County Jail.
Yeah, and
Good stuff.
it's really interesting. And before long, we're going to be awarding Crest Precast. Their MIF application was accepted, so that there'll be a big ceremony kind of thing with deed, right?
Yep.
And we'll let you know when that comes. And they were talking about doing a survey about the jail. Do you remember? They're talking about at the fair, having handouts at the fair that people could give input into the Houston County Jail. And we talked about, you know, people being able to tour it, so if somebody does want to start a business or something, I don't know. Just so we have more information before we proceed with it.
I like the idea of a survey at the fair. That you would reach a lot of people with it countywide.
Great. We also just joined the Outdoor Recreation Alliance. It connects Houston County with La Crosse County. We're already on their maps for trails and stuff, so we've become a member of it. So it'll help bring more information out about Houston County to people who come into the area. Bart Beeson and I are going next week to the Southern Minnesota Tour Association thing in Albertville. I think is it? Yeah, next week. And we also have been having tons of visitor guides go out at the Mall of America. they have an area where you can display information about your counties, and tons and tons of those booklets from Houston County are going out. We're almost out of the booklets now, so it's something that we're looking at possibly.
We're going to reorder them.
Well, we're going to update, I think.
Update.
We're getting together a marketing committee to address more of that marketing, the county, things for promoting Houston County. And John, what's his name? Loken that represented Houston, or he was a member at large, resigned, and he's been really an instrumental part of the
He's been very good on that.
Yeah, so.
Too busy or?
We'll miss him.
Yeah, I think he's just got so much going on.
He's working on a
Yes.
new one in Russia.
So we'll miss him a lot. And I think that
What's
that's.
the Railroad Alliance, what do we charge for membership?
I think ours that we are doing is 500.
They have varying.
They have varying
They have varying
levels.
steps where you get more
And
and
then
more.
like
for
we
it.
get to be, at the step we're at, we get to be on their webpage. So it'll link into Houston County, EDA, and Houston County. And that's all that I have going on, I think.
That's interesting about the airport or Mall of America, because remember Tom Bierke years ago was complaining that he went on a trip and they had all the counties represented, but Houston County was really pushing to get us pamphlets.
And we have gone through, I don't even know how many hundreds of booklets up there. That's weird. So we're working hard to promote our county.
Anything else, Judy?
No, I think that was it.
I did attend the county township officers board meeting last night along with Steve. And it was very good. We talked to them about our transparency and our policies here, and they're very receptive to them. And then I did go over to the, well, we didn't have a meeting, Fraxen study group meeting, because we had set parameters of no videotaping, and when the videotaping came up, Ken requested having it in writing before, so right now we're pursuing getting information from our attorney in writing. So, and I don't know for sure if the meeting will be next Monday or not. I haven't heard yet, so. Anything else that's up before the board?
Real quick, just before we adjourn, well, Steve and I will get going on highway department, but I guess my only request would be if we're going to look for alternatives, do we have authorization then to spend money to come up with get some quotes and some designs from another company?
I don't think that's reasonable.
That if we need to go out and get something that we have authority to.
Can you bring it back
Is it
first?
RFP?
It's kind of an open page. I mean, when you guys come up with who you want to go to and how much it's gonna cost, I would feel better responding to that than just a general blank.
Yeah, bring it back. Bring it back after you meet. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think we'll have to do that anyway, because you need a consultant of some kind.
As long as I have to overhand.
But
Well, I
just to
know-
get the figure.
Like I've talked to a couple other companies too, and they just said, we don't necessarily have to do the building for you, but if you come to us and want a quote, we're gonna charge you for it if we're not getting
That makes
the
sense.
deal. So if we are looking at alternative plans, it's gonna cost something that, and we've got money in the professional or the technical fees that we can go to.
They'll need to know how much though, I guess. I guess that's
Sounds,
the thing,
yeah, that sounds good. Find out
Yeah.
how much, and I think we're gonna have to
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
long run, but,
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay. Still get something going.
sounds good.
Mhm.
Anything else?
Not that I know of.
Talking about the highway department, one of the questions I hear in my district is that, is the road building dead? I don't think there's ever been anything come across our desk where we said we're not going to do that.
Last I
People are
heard,
always, on Spring Road Road, I hate to make a statement if that's not our position.
I think Steve had followed up on that a little
right,
bit.
last, it wouldn't be prudent for us to spend more than what the property is appraised for. Enough said. It would not, enough said. And I know that Kurt felt that the appraisal was quite wrong. And as I understand, he was gonna get his own appraisal.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah, and I don't think it never happened. So it's done. As far as I'm concerned, it's done in the water.
Unless the price comes down. or something.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that clarifies.
That sounds good. Anything else?
Move to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?